Welcome, Shadow Seekers, to American Shadows, Crimes and Chronicles. Today, we're unearthing a tale that'll haunt your thoughts long after it ends. Whether you're glued to the screen or just listening in, you're in for a wild ride through history's darkest corners. If you're new, hit subscribe to join our mission of exposing America's hidden truths. Regulars, your likes fuel our journey into the unknown. Now, let's peel back the layers of time and reveal the secrets beneath. Ready? Let's begin. The day the Supreme Court said nothing and changed everything. Hello, friends, and welcome to American Shadows, Crimes and Chronicles. Today, we're diving into a pivotal moment in American civil rights history that, while not a crime or disaster, certainly shook the foundations of our society. On October 6, 2014, with a simple act of inaction, the United States Supreme Court set in motion a tidal wave of change that would reshape the landscape of marriage equality across the nation. What transforms a routine Monday at the Supreme Court into a watershed moment for civil rights? How does a decision not to decide become one of the most consequential rulings in recent memory? And why, a decade later, does this moment continue to reverberate through American society? Before we unravel this fascinating tale of legal maneuvering and social change, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to all of you who support our work. Your engagement allows us to shed light on these pivotal moments that have shaped our nation in profound ways. Our story begins on a crisp autumn morning in Washington, D.C. The Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice John Roberts, was reconvening after its summer recess. On the docket were appeals from 5 states: Indiana, Oklahoma, Utah, Virginia, and Wisconsin, all seeking to uphold their bans on same-sex marriage. These bans had been struck down by lower courts, and now the states were turning to the highest court in the land for vindication. The anticipation was palpable. Legal experts, LGBTQ+ rights activists, and opponents of same-sex marriage alike had been waiting months for this moment. Many expected the court to take up at least one of these cases, setting the stage for a definitive ruling on the constitutionality of same-sex marriage bans nationwide. But sometimes, the most powerful decisions are the ones not made. In a move that took many by surprise, the Supreme Court declined to hear any of the appeals. This seemingly passive act had an explosive effect. By refusing to intervene, the court allowed the lower court rulings to stand, effectively legalizing same-sex marriage in those 5 states. To understand the significance of this moment, we need to step back and look at the legal landscape leading up to October 6, 2014. The fight for same-sex marriage had been waged for decades, starting with grassroots movements in the 1970s and 1980s. But the tide really began to turn in the early 2000s. In 2004, Massachusetts became the first state to legalize same-sex marriage. By 2014, 19 states had followed suit, either through court decisions, legislative action, or voter referendums. However, the country remained deeply divided on the issue. Many states had enacted constitutional amendments or laws explicitly banning same-sex marriage. These bans were increasingly being challenged in federal courts with varying results. The rulings that led to the October 6 decision stemmed from lawsuits challenging state-level bans on same-sex marriage. In each of these cases, federal appeals courts had ruled that these bans were unconstitutional, leading to momentous legal victories for marriage equality advocates. The implications of the court's decision on October 6 rippled out immediately. Within hours, couples in the affected states were lining up at courthouses, eager to exercise their newly recognized right to marry. The scenes of joy and celebration that unfolded on the steps of government buildings across these states were both deeply personal and profoundly political. In Virginia, Tim Bostic and Tony London, who had been together for 25 years, were among the first to receive their marriage license. "We're feeling just overwhelming love and support," Bostic told reporters, his voice choked with emotion. Similar scenes played out in Indianapolis, Milwaukee, Oklahoma City, and Salt Lake City. But the impact didn't stop at the borders of these 5 states. The court's decision also cleared the way for same-sex marriage in 6 other states within the same federal circuit courts: Colorado, Kansas, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Overnight, the number of states allowing same-sex marriage jumped from 19 to 30. The reaction to the court's non-decision was swift and varied. LGBTQ plus rights advocates hailed it as a major victory, seeing it as a clear signal of the court's stance on marriage equality. James Essex, director of the ACLU Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and AIDS Project, called it a watershed moment for the entire country. On the other side, opponents of same-sex marriage expressed frustration and disappointment. Some accused the court of shirking its responsibility to settle a contentious national issue. Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council, lamented that the court had left the future of marriage in the hands of unelected judges. Meanwhile, legal experts were left to parse the implications of the court's unusual move. By declining to hear the appeals, the court had effectively endorsed the lower court rulings without setting a national precedent. It was a nuanced approach that some saw as a strategic move by the justices to advance marriage equality incrementally, rather than through a sweeping ruling. Several factors may have influenced the court's decision to stay silent. There was no disagreement among the lower courts that had ruled on the issue. All had found same-sex marriage bans unconstitutional. The Supreme Court often waits for a circuit split, a disagreement among lower courts, before stepping in to resolve an issue. Additionally, public opinion on same-sex marriage had been shifting rapidly, with support growing across demographic groups. The court's action, or inaction, seemed to reflect an awareness of these evolving societal views. The October 6 decision set off a domino effect across the country. State after state saw their same-sex marriage bans fall, either through court decisions or legislative action. Governors and state attorneys, general, even in conservative states, began to acknowledge that defending same-sex marriage bans was becoming legally untenable. For same-sex couples across the affected states, the court's decision was life-changing. It meant access to over 1,100 federal benefits and protections that come with marriage, including Social Security benefits, immigration rights, and tax advantages. More importantly, it provided legal recognition of their relationships and families. Sarah and Linda, a couple from Wisconsin who had been together for 30 years, reflected on the change. "We've been waiting for this day for so long," Sarah said, "to finally have our relationship recognized, to know that our family has the same protections as everyone else's. It's overwhelming." But not everyone was celebrating. For many opponents of same-sex marriage, the court's refusal to act felt like a betrayal. John, a pastor from Utah, expressed his concerns. "Marriage has been defined as between a man and a woman for thousands of years. This decision ignores the will of the people who voted to protect traditional marriage." The debate over same-sex marriage touched on fundamental questions about the nature of marriage, the role of government in personal relationships, and the balance between religious freedom and civil rights. Supporters argued that marriage is a fundamental right that should be available to all consenting adults, regardless of sexual orientation. Opponents contended that changing the definition of marriage could have far-reaching social consequences and potentially infringe on religious liberties. As the dust settled from the October 6 decision, it became clear that the fight over same-sex marriage was far from over. There were still 20 states where same-sex marriage remained illegal, but momentum was on the side of change. With each new ruling in favor of marriage rights, it became harder for remaining bans to hold up under legal scrutiny. The issue would come to a head less than a year later, on June 26, 2015, in the landmark case of Obergefell versus Hodges. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court ruled that the fundamental right to marry is guaranteed to same-sex couples by both the Due Process Clause and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. This decision effectively legalized same-sex marriage nationwide, marking the culmination of decades of activism and legal battles. Now, as we look back on this moment from the vantage point of 2024, we can see the profound impact of that October day a decade ago. The legalization of same-sex marriage has touched countless lives, allowing couples to enjoy the legal and social benefits of marriage that were long denied to them. It has changed the fabric of American society, challenging long-held notions of family and relationship recognition. But the story doesn't end with legalization. The past decade has seen ongoing debates about religious freedom, adoption rights, and the broader acceptance of LGBTQ+ individuals in society. While same-sex marriage is now the law of the land, the struggle for full equality continues. The October 6, 2014, decision also had ripple effects beyond marriage equality. It demonstrated the power of the judiciary in shaping social policy and reignited debates about the proper role of the courts in a democratic society. It influenced subsequent legal battles over LGBT+ rights, including workplace discrimination and transgender rights. As we reflect on this moment, we're left with profound questions about the nature of social change in America. How do legal decisions interact with shifting public opinion to create societal transformation? What role should the courts play in addressing contentious social issues? And how do we balance the rights of different groups in an increasingly diverse society? We invite you, our viewers, to share your thoughts and experiences. How did the events of October 6, 2014, and the subsequent legalization of same-sex marriage affect you or your community? Whether you supported or opposed the change, how has your perspective evolved over the past decade? Your stories and insights add invaluable depth to our understanding of this pivotal moment in American history. This is American Shadows, where we peer into the moments that have shaped our nation. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most significant changes come not with a bang, but with a whisper. Or, in this case, with a decision not to decide. Stay curious, stay engaged, and keep watching American Shadows. For in understanding our past, we gain insights that can help us navigate the complex landscape of our present and future. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most consequential legal moments in recent American history. Until next time, remember that the shadows of the past continue to shape the light of our future.